Hey everyone, welcome back to part 3 of our 4-part tutorial series on setting up your own stylized anime character in Cartoon Animator. In part 2, we learned about how to add extra accessories and hair to your character, as well as how to add bones for spring effects. In this video, we'll cover the workflow for creating morph-based facial expressions, which allows you to create more dynamic and dramatic expressions for your characters, as well as deconstruct the eyes so your character can look around. Movable eyes are broken down into 3 parts: the iris, the eye white, and the mask. The iris is the part that moves around, the eye white is simply the background image that represents the eyeball, and the mask is the defined area where your iris can move. The iris will not appear outside your defined mask area, and we'll explore this in a bit. Having these 3 parts allows the iris to move without the entire eye moving. The eyes on this character contain a number of separate parts for more detailed and diverse performance options, and the same goes for the mouth as well. We need to add these new elements first, so let's launch our most recent model version into our PSD editor again. Since we're focusing only on the head this time, we can choose the option to only launch the head image layers. Once again, I've color-coded the images we want to import, with the green groups representing the main eye and mouth elements, and the red images representing additional extended elements for more diverse expression options. For now, I'm going to copy and paste these over to the main RL Image Head v2 group, making sure that they're beneath the frontal hair elements group. If you don't paste in place, you can just align the new layers to make sure that they match up with the original elements. So now we need to get these new groups into the right place, so we'll start with the left eye. Remember, the main eye element groups are marked green, and they are under a subgroup called normal, which represents normal performance. Once we move it to the proper place, we can delete the original single image group. With the mouth, although there are additional elements like the upper and lower lips for enhanced performance, we only have one normal image that we want to transfer over right now. We can then delete the source groups, which are now empty. Now, if you can recall, the extended elements were color-coded red. Since these elements are not part of the default facial performance, I'm going to copy those images over to the RL Bone Head v2 group, which will give them their own bones once we save and update in CTA. In the CTA Layer Manager, you can now see those additional image layers added, each with their own bones, so we can move them around. In Facial Animation Setup, you'll see that we can now move the irises separately from the rest of the eye, within the confines of the mask area. So in order to make all of these elements move along with the parent eye bone, we'll need to connect them like we did with the hair strands in the previous tutorial. As before, it's easier to select the elements that you want in the Layer Manager, and then use the Hide Unselected tool to isolate the layers we want to work with. I'll start by connecting the main right eye layer bone to the main eye bone, after which we'll be able to preview and move that one layer. You can tweak the positions of the individual bones here. From there, go ahead and connect the other eye elements to your main eye image. In this case, they'll all be connected directly to the main eye bone. The mouth is the same. Tweak the position of your individual element bones if needed, then connect them to the main mouth parent bone. Once you're done both eyes and mouth, we can move on to setting up facial expressions. In the Face Key Editor, you'll see individual sliders in the Face Key detail settings that combine to make up full expressions. You can see that when utilized, the sprite images may look a bit chunky. Fortunately, we can use some sliders in the subdivision section of the Bone Editor to smooth out this result. Increasing the density and alignment sliders will give us a more detailed mesh, which results in less jagged edges when the sprite is deformed. This is the best way to ensure the best visual results for all of your individual sprite images. Once we've optimized the meshes of these sprites, we can move on to tweaking the individual slider results in the Facial Animation Setup panel. Here, if we enable Smooth Mode, our expressions will be created only through deformation of the sprite images, without switching sprites. This avoids the sudden jerky change of eye sprites in favor of smoothly morphing the elements to create expressions instead. To begin, select the expression you want, and in the Deform tab, a mesh will appear over your element. You can move the individual points here to morph it to match the image in the expression thumbnail. In the Transform tab, we can then manually move the child elements into place. Depending on your individual eye elements, you may need to further deform others, like the eyelid here, so that it goes down to cover the eye white. When you're done, give it a preview to test the result. Now let's take a look at the expression template for the eye fully closed. In this scenario, it takes a combination of deforming the image and its transform values. Since the eye is closed, we have lashes pointing both up and down, and the other sub-elements will need to be scaled down significantly and deformed so that they're covered up by the thick eyelashes. When you're done with the eye shapes, move on to the iris. This is a bit easier and just requires position changes and scaling down the transform value for the last expression template. The eyebrows are pretty simple as well. Just follow along with the expression template images as your guide. The nose is basically just nostril flares on each side, which is pretty simple, and the mouth is a bit more detailed, so we'll cover that in the next video. Once you've completed setting up the deform and transform values for each expression template, then you can use the detail settings in the Face Key Editor to test out the result for each individual slider. You can combine different sliders to create your own unique facial expressions as well. In the next video, we'll look at 360-degree head setup, which simulates three-dimensional turning of our 2D character's head for a unique result. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.